we have a lot of people that are actively starting and, doing amazing things during the course of the bootcamp. All right, so we're going to get started really quick. You're welcome once again to the Python for Data Science Bootcamp live class. And as we all know, just what was communicated to you all, this is going to be more of like an interactive session. And if you follow all the instructions, you should have accessed the learning management system because that is like our go-to guide for the process, and what we'll be doing throughout the bootcamp is to guide us on the content that we'll be focusing on each day, and what we'll be doing in our live classes as well. All right, so at the end of towards the end, we'll be taking some question and answer. So we shared a Slido link for you to post your questions. You can just go to that link, post your questions so that we can take that at the end of the class. Okay, so the agenda for this class, we'll be doing, I'm going to share my screen really quick so that we can all be on the same page. Okay, I believe we all have the bootcamp curriculum. It was shared with you via email. And we have the bootcamp training schedule for the bootcampers. And on this curriculum, you have access to what we'll be covering for each of the live class sessions. And we also have the timing. What we'll be doing the lesson recap for the next 45 minutes. This is what we are supposed to have covered in our LMS. If you've actually followed all the instructions, the video resources, the text resources, you should have covered installation and environment setup, introduction to Jupyter notebooks, introduction to Python programming, variables and data type, list and conditionals, and conditional statements and for loops. So that's you should have followed before this class. So the goal of this class is to help us tie the knots together. Everything that you've learned in class, we're going to do a quick recap and a wrap up of what you've done in class online at your own on your own at your own pace, and then we'll have a quiz break, after which we'll take our questions. So that is the mode of the class. My name is Grace. Once again, I'm the lead instructor for the bootcamp program. So we have some of our other instructors as well that will be joining us during the course of the boot camp. And I think Joseph is on the call as well, so he would also be with us in this session. All right, so we'll just jump right into what we have for today. I know that we are all muted because of the coordinating the class, so that would have some orderliness. All right, if you have questions, you can just drop it in the Slido board and they will be happy to respond to your questions. Okay. So today we'll be looking at a recap on the Python for Data Science program. So I'm going to just go right into the LMS to just show you what you should have, read and covered. So we have on Sunday, which was left for installations and getting your environment set up. That was where we had the orientation as well. So we have the bootcamp training schedule as well on this place, and then pay attention to this link. So this link would take you to the curriculum where we have the more comprehensive curriculum and as well the link to the Slido. So we'll be using this Slido link for each of the class sessions so as to coordinate our questions and answer, because most times you find out that a lot of questions get missing in our charts. People ask the same questions over and over again. So in order for us to coordinate our questions, we'll be using Slido for that. Okay, so you can always visit that ahead of the class to drop your questions. Also, you should have signed up on these platforms. We I recommend that you sign up on all of these platforms. They will be letting you know what they'll be used for during the course of the boot camp. All right. And then for each of the class sessions, we have our class recordings. So this is where we'll be dropping the class recordings for the class sessions. So for today's class, you have the recording here after the class. We'll be dropping it afterwards. By tomorrow, you should have the recording uploaded here. All right. And then you can find the recording for the orientation here, and then some frequently asked questions, like because of the format of the IPython notebook file. So sometimes when you download it, it enters into a JSON format, like a web format. So the video here is just to show you how to properly download your files without any hassles. Okay, so we have the recordings on this this page, and then we have all other things that you should have covered. So you should have covered on Monday, you should have covered Introduction to Python for Data Science, which is just the basic introductions, and then you should have done variables and data type. On Tuesday, which was yesterday, you should have covered the lists and conditionals, manipulating lists and conditional statements as well. Then today, which is the live class, right? And that is where we had today. All right. So we'll just be for each of the classes, we have the video model, which is very important to go through it, because that would take you through how what each of the notebooks represents. So these are past recordings of our boot camps, and then we encourage that you follow the videos, because a lot of questions that you might have today might have been answered in this video session. So it's important you also follow the video as well to follow, so that you'll be able to follow the content of the class. So we're going to do a brief recap of what you should have covered, right? So I believe we all have Jupyter Notebook installed. If you have Jupyter Notebook installed, you can just drop an emoji. If you have a Jupyter Notebook installed, and then you have your environment set up already, you can drop an emoji, and let me just see how many persons have done that. I can't see anybody. Do we have Jupyter Notebook installed? Okay, I can see one and raised. You can just react under the react icon. You can just react, and just for me to know how many people have Jupyter Notebook installed on their systems. Okay, so okay, I've seen okay, I'm seeing you all. Great. So if you have any challenge, all right, that's why we have the study group. A lot of people have installed, they've passed through some of the hurdles that you might be passing through, and that's why we have the study group, so that we can all help each other, in terms of challenges. All right, so we are going to do a little recap. After the installations, you're supposed to go through this exercise, markdown exercise, and the essence of this, I'll just go through it for the sake of people that don't know what this represents. So what you're supposed to do, Jupyter Notebook is like an integrated development environment. It's like a web software that simulates what is on your system. So if you look at the browser, whether you are online or offline, it works offline. So it uses your local host, and then it's an application. It's integrated in Anaconda environment. Anaconda is an integrated development environment. Anaconda houses other IDs as well. Okay, so Jupyter Notebook is one of them. And then what Jupyter Notebook helps you to do is to create an order of presentation when you're coding. So it's integrated. You can integrate Python in Jupyter Notebook. If you look at the top right hand corner, you can see Python 3, depending on the Python version that you installed alongside with Anaconda. So what Jupyter Notebook helps you to do is that you can easily have your markdowns, like you have your words, word written, spelled out, and then you can have your code cells. So here you can have when I double click, you can see that this is a markdown cell. And when you look at the top, at the upper part here, you see that this is saying it's indicating a markdown. So in the markdown environment, you can write different type of styling, just like you have on your WhatsApp, and some of these are chats interfaces where you can do bold and and all of that. Okay, so then you also have the code cell. The code cell, it looks something like this, where you can do some Python code, which you'll be looking at during the course of the program, right? So this notebook helps you to to organize your work. You can use it for presentations as well. You've seen if you go online, you see like some sophisticated presentations using Jupyter Notebook. And when you're done with some of your work, you can save it as you can make a copy, or say you can save it as, you can download as HTML. It can be an HTML page somewhere on your website, nicely formatted. You can download it as a notebook. You can download it as a PDF. You can download it as any format listed here, which it's also great. Okay, so we actually recommend this for this program because it's easy for beginners and it helps you to easily interact with your code as you're writing your code. You're seeing it, unlike the normal Python IDE, the Python idle, which you have to write your code and before you can run it and see the output. All right, that said, so if you go through the recording, we explain how to use a markdown, what a bold, what a bold is, how to do a bold, how to do so many of the formatting. So what this exercise is doing is that we want you to replicate this exercise. So when you do Shift Enter or Command Enter, depending on your kind of laptop model, okay, you would be able to run each of your cells. So you're going to write the answers in the blank spaces here. So we want you to replicate what this is. This is a text. So if you want to write this, how do you write it in a markdown? So that's what this is telling you to do. So the first thing to do is to change it to a markdown. All right. And if you're not sure of the next step to take, you can just double click and see what it looks like. And this is the way it's actually written in a markdown format, right? So to make an italics, to replicate it, you can actually do a star, a double star, and then write whatever your text is. My name is Grace. Okay, and then you have this in italics. So this is what we asked you to do for each of this question. So this, for example, we said you should replicate this is a special font bullet. So you can combine so many of those formats, and most especially when you're writing a report, right? So you can combine many of this formatting, and I'm not going to spend so much time on it, but because I believe it's something that should be easy for you all to be able to try your hands on. So if you're not sure of how to write the formatting, you can just double click and see what it's like. And then, so how this one is achieved is a double dash and then a tab. That's how you achieve this, and then it comes out in this format. This is a block quote. Sometimes you might see some books, they write them in block quotes, maybe some quotations, citations rather, and then they're in block quotes on Markdown, nicely presented on a website. How do they do it? So this is how it's done, using your greater than sign, depending on the level of the block quote. Okay, so just go ahead and do this exercise for each of this. So this is the first one has been done. So this type markdown is just an empty markdown. That's what this represents. This is an empty markdown cell. So that's why it's showing that type latex markdown. All right, this is an empty markdown. Write some statements in bold. So you can just write any statements in bold and then run it, and let's just try your hands on this, and then there's a way you can also use import images in Markdown. So you can if you're not sure of how to go about it, just double click it and then it shows you. So this image has to be in your image, the folder, the current folder that you're working on, or if you don't want to have it on the current folder, that means you have to write the reference, the correct image reference when you are writing the file path. So this is the syntax where you have the exclamation mark, then in brackets you have any name, anything you want to call the image. Like, most of the images you see, they always have like the alternate text. For example, when the image is missing, what text should other people see in that image? Okay, so this is just like maybe the name of the image, you can put it in this quotation mark, then inside this bracket has to be the part of this image. So if you check my file directory now, you see that there is an image folder where I have a map.png. Okay, let me see if it's here. So this is the folder. All right, and then this should be image folder. I'm coming. Okay, image/map.png Jupyter notebook exercise. Let me be sure of the right notebook I'm on. Okay, Jupyter notebook. Okay, this is it. So this is the notebook I'm on at the moment. So this is the image folder, and this is the map.png. So it has to be ordered that way, so in order to pull out the image. If not, the image would not be displayed. All right, if you have any question, you can drop that in the Q&A. Would visit it during the Q&A session. All right, so we're going to move right into the next thing that we'll be doing a recap on, and that is the introduction to Python programming. So basically, we've touched on the introduction to Jupyter notebooks, introduction to Python programming, variable data types, list and conditional statements, and for loop. Okay, because this is a lot to cover, so I'm just going to be touching on just the little basics for key important things for your knowledge, and then if there are questions, we can address that during the Q&A session. Okay, can you all see my screen? Somebody's saying he can't see my screen. All right, great. Okay, let's proceed. I think that should be network at your end, Joseph. All right, so we're going to go right into this. So this is like I'm just going to do like a touch on different parts because it's a lot. The comprehensive explanation is on the video, the live class video session. So just go back to watch it very well. It's going to go into more detailed explanation, but then I'll just do a very brief run through on the key things that we should have covered. So in Python, when you're doing Python programming, you must have read what Python programming is on the LMS and all of that, all the stories, how it came about. It's an object-oriented programming language, and then it's also a great tool for data science, machine learning in general, because it's very, very it's very fast, it's very simple to learn. It's widely accepted as well. So to learn any language, you must understand the basics. It's just like if you want to pick up on your native language or English language, for example, you have to understand what ABC is. They start with your letter sounds, then they start blending two letter words. That's exactly what you're doing in programming. So part of the basics in Python is the variables and the data types. So the variables, like we must have read or listened to, right, on the video recordings, they are placeholders. For example, we have you want to store something. Let me just call it like a storage box to hold a particular to keep a particular data type. That's what a variable is. It's like a placeholder. It's a storage box, for you to keep data types. So I'm going to explain what data types are very quickly. So these variables, as much as they are like placeholders, you have a way of naming them. You can't just give any there are rules of naming conventions for variables in Python. So you have to use your names, your alphabet. It starts with an alphabet. It cannot start with a number. A variable name cannot start with a number. It will throw an error. Let's try it. So you can decide to name your variable anything. You can create a new, if you do 34 my name, and you're saving it, you are putting a placeholder. I want to store 20 in 34 my name, so that instead of calling 20 every time, I would rather say 34 my name. But let's see what happens. It's going to throw an error because a variable cannot start with 34. Rather, you can start with my name. It's going to accept it. So we can see what this is, how this is happening. All right. So for your variable names, you give variable, you can create any variable name in Python, so long as you follow the normal naming convention. It can be all lowercase, it can be all uppercase, it can be camel case, right? Camel case is where you have something like this, my name, you have like my name, something like this, different type of cases, it's going to accept it. But then if you're having numbers and some special characters in front, it's going to throw an error. For example, you do something like this, a magic function, it's giving you a kind of error. So you have to be aware of that. All right, that said, when you're naming variables, you're using it such that you don't have to it's a variable. Okay, so you're storing a particular, it could be an integer, it could be a floating. Now I'm getting into data types. It's going to be a floating point number, it could be a list, it could be a dictionary. All right, so a variable can hold any data type. So just have that in mind, like when you want to most especially when you're writing your code, you have to create variables. Okay, so variables are placeholders. They are case sensitive. So if you say something like name is equals to 20, and then you do another name is equals to 20, name is equals to 50, it's a different kind of name. So if you say something like the print name, this is 20. If you say print name, this would give you 50. This is not, they are not equal. It's case sensitive. So take note of that as well. All right. So moving forward, we can have different variable names. You can define different variable names. And the use of variable names is that you can use it to do your calculations. Instead of saying 2 plus 3 or using your hard-coded data types like numbers, you can use a variable such that you can assign them to any value, and then you can use them in calculations. All right. So having said that, let's move on to data types. Data types in Python are like the different type of values, or data, the objects that are accepted in Python. So we have integers, which are your natural numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000, anything that has to do with a natural number without decimal points, that's an integer. Then we have the floating point numbers, which has the dots. Anything with decimal points are called your floating point number. So the type function is just used to check the data type of this particular variable. So we assigned a variable to x. We assigned the variable, we assigned 4. We defined a variable called x, which is equals to 4. Because 4 is, we want to check the type of that variable, which we'll be talking about functions later, maybe on Friday. Okay, but then we are going to be using this quickly. There are different type of, functions that you can use for that are associated with with different data types. Okay, so here we have this type function, which is used to check the data, any data type of a variable. So here, when you do type x, it tells you that x is integer. Okay, we defined another variable called u, 42.78. So this is a floating point number, which are decimal point numbers. And then we have the string. A string is a sequence of characters. So we can define a string. I think I have a string later. Okay, let me just follow this notebook so that I don't stop the flow. All right, so we have the float, then we have the boolean. The boolean is something that results to true or false. There are so many. We're going to do a lot of conditionals and loops in Python as well. So you come across your boolean data types as often as possible. So this is an example of a boolean. For example, you define a variable called x equals 5, another variable called y equals 10. Now I want to check if x is greater than y. So the result of that check is a boolean value. Okay, because normally if I don't have this, let me just comment this out, and I do something like this, x greater than y, is not stored in the variable. It's telling me already, and that's the beauty of the Jupyter notebook, just seeing the outputs immediately. Okay, so you have the x greater than y, that is 5 greater than y, which is actually false. So the result of this is a boolean, it's not a string. Okay, I'll be explaining what a string is afterwards. So if you now assign this result to R, let me uncomment this now. Now you see that your R value is what? Is a false. So this R, which is a false, it's a Boolean data type. So you can have your true or false, data type. We also have the string. It's a way to represent text. When you want to represent text in Python, you can use a string format. And the string, the way you represent it inside a single quote or a double quote, whichever you want to use. Okay, so a string is a sequence of character. It could be a single character. It could be multiple character. If you write all of this, and you do something like this, okay, and you're asking Python, and you assign it to a variable called my string. So there are some reserved variable names that you cannot use. Like I cannot use a variable that Python knows. I can't use type as my variable name. You can see it's already highlighting it in green. I can't use sum. I can use, there's some variable names you cannot use because they've already been used in Python. So you have to, if I want to use something else, I have to say maybe someone or something. So it's safer for me like that. If not, Python's already reading another meaning to it. Okay, so we have let me just assign a variable name called my string. So variable name can be, and like I mentioned earlier, we can use either one character, or you can use any name, so long as it makes some good meaning, and then it must not be too long. The idea is just to be able to reuse that variable anytime you want to use it within your code. Okay, so we have this as my string, and then we can now print my string, and let's see what the result is. So this is a string. If you check the type of my string, if you check the type, it's going to tell you that it's what? A string. So a string is a sequence of character in Python. So let's just move into operations, and then we'll talk about lists and a bit of, there's still a lot to cover, so I have to move very fast. Okay, so we have the numbers and the arithmetic operators. We have the plus, the multiplication signs, which represents star. You can use asterisk is the multiplication. A single asterisk is multiplication. The slash is the division sign. The double asterisk is the power. Okay, you can also use a power function as well. You can use a power function as well. And what the power function does is that it takes the first value you want to raise to power. For example, I want to do 2 raised to power 4. Instead of me doing 2 star 4, I can just do power 2, 4, and then it still gives me the same output. Then we have the percentage, which is the modulus, and then it's telling you what is the modulus. This is 4 modulo 2, and that is what 0. We have 5 modulo 2, and that is 1. We also have this as well, 4 divided by 2, and that gives you gives you 2. We also have this as well, which is the remainder after division. Okay, 4, 5 divided by 2, which is 5 divided by 2 is what? 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 4. That is the it's like 2, the the modulo is remainder after division, while this one is the division before the remainder. I don't know if you understand. Like 4 divided by 2 would give you 2.0. So that 2 is this value. Takes the first value. 5 divided by 2 would give you what? 2.5. So if it's the modulo, it gives you 1. But if it's this value, it gives you 2. I believe we understand the difference. So we have, if you do 5 modulo 2, it gives you 1. And if you do 5//2, it gives you 2. That is, it picks the ceiling function. The other one picks the floor function. That's after the decimal point. Okay, so let us move forward. We have the operations as well, the order of operation in Python, which is the PEDMAS, the parentheses, exponential, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So normally when you just do your you just have different, maybe you have 5 minus 9, 50, 30. Okay, let me put other symbols, plus, then we have times. Okay, so this is going to execute in the PEDMAS order. So it's going to do the multiplication first. Afterwards, it will go to the addition, and then before it subtracts the 2. So this is 5 times 9, all right, 45. And this is what? 50 plus 30, that's 80. 45 minus 50, and that gives you, 45 minus 80. Okay, 5 times 9, 45, minus 50 plus 30, that's minus 20. And that would give you 45 minus 20, which is 25. I believe you understand. But if you want to change the order, you can rearrange the order using the brackets. Okay, and because of this, it changes the order of operation. So we have 9 minus 50 execute first. Okay, so we have 5 times 9 minus 50 is minus 41. All right. So we have 5 times minus 41 plus 30. So your multiplication executes first. That is 5 times minus 41 plus 40, and that gives you minus 175. So I believe we understand the order of operation. Okay. Moving forward, we have the strings, which we've talked about, double quotes, single quotes. And then what I just want you to take note of, when you're using an apostrophe, okay, in between your text, so it's safer to use a double quotes when you have all other quotes in between. But if you're just using all strings, you can just use your single quotes. It's still the same thing. Okay, and then the plus operator on the string, on the data type, behaves differently. When you're adding a string to a string, it concatenates it together. It does not add it. So if you say something like, let me try this, if you do something like this, can you see what is happening? because this is a string plus string, it's giving you 22 because it's a string. But if it's an integer, right, it gives you what? 4, 2 plus 2. And that gives you a 4. Okay, so we have 10 more minutes to move on and wrap up with this session. You can keep dropping your name, your questions on Slido, and then if there are questions that are that have been asked, you don't have to ask another one, just vote it. So we'll start from the highest voted questions so that we'll be able to cover as many as possible. All right, so moving forward, we have the printing statement, how to print in Python. So there are different type of print formatting in Python. We covered this in the video session, so I'm not going to go so much into it because I want to just touch on a list and because these are very, very key, which could be a bit confusing. So I just want to just touch on those parts as well. So for printing, you just use your print statements, and there are different ways of printing. You can use your dot format method, or you can use your normal print statement. So if you're printing using your normal print statements, the what you want to write, for example, you want to write you want to print a name. For example, you have a name called Justice. Now, this is wrong. I have to put it in a string. If not, Python will flag it as an error. I can't just write a string and then leave it without encoding it in a string, in a single quote or a double quote. So given this name, you want to print a statement that has to do with that has to read my name is Justice. So the way it's written, you put what you want to add code, like my name is in quotation mark, the way you want it to be printed, put it in quotation mark, then comma, the variable name that you want to print. And here, the variable name is what? Justice. So you can just do that and then it prints it out as that. But then if you want to print, you can use dot format, and this dot format is good when you're doing formatting of maybe you want to format something in decimal places, and then you want to format things in you want to use different type of print formatting inside your print statement. So that's what you use your dot format for. It gives you flexibility in printing your results. Okay, so I'm going to move to lists quickly. So I've talked about variables, I've talked about data types, and part of data types I mentioned is the integer, the what, the floating point numbers, the Boolean, the strings, and now we're moving that gradually into data structures. All of these data types mentioned, right? You can put them into a data structure. And the reason why we talk about data structure is that you are giving an order to which, in data analysis, because we are doing Python for data science. Data analysis, you deal with a lot of tabular data for data science, data analysis related tasks. You do a lot of tabular data. And to organize those tabular data, you need to understand the concept of data structures such that you know what rows are, what columns are. So in Python, we have lists. And what list does is just think about list as your normal list. Like you want to create a shopping list. You're going to the store. You want to buy different type of items. For example, you want to go to the grocery store. You can create a list of fruits that you want to buy. You can create a list of you also want to go to another store. You can create it like provision store. You can create a list of beverages you want to buy. So just think of it like that. So you a list can house different type of data. Now, in a list, you can have a string, you can have an integer, you can have a floating point number, and you can have a Boolean, right? They are all permitted in a list. So a list is just a sequence of ordered elements. So they have a particular order that they are placed inside this list. So this is Greg, which is in location 0. John is in location 1. One integer is in location 2. 1.0 is in location 3, and true is in location 4. So given this list, right, you can, if I want Greg, this is a building block, because a list is just like a single record in your if you're looking at a tabular data now, it's just like you're looking at a single row. All right, so you have Greg, John 1, 1.0, and true. And then if you want to index out Greg, I can, because Greg is in location 0, so a list uses a 0-based indexing. The first element is in location 0, next 1, next 2, like that. Then you can say the name of the list, which is name, square brackets. I want to index out Greg, which is in location 0. I'll just type the location number and then it brings out Greg for me. Okay, so if I want to index out true, true is in location what? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can just type 4 and it brings out true. We also have a reverse indexing, which where you can say this is -1, true is -1, 1.0 is -2, 1 is -3, downwards. So if I want to index out 1.0, I can say -2. It's still the same thing. So you can do it the reverse or you can do it the other way around. So we also have list of lists, like nested lists. Okay, you can decide to have a list where you have another list. All right, so like for example, this is a less nested list where you have the heights, the name and height of the student. Color is having a height of 3.14, then comma, you have George with a height of 6.76, right? You can have praise with a height of 7.0. Praise is very tall. All right, let's just stick at this. And then we have these tree lists. How do you perform the indexing? For example, I want to index out George. How do I go about it? Now, this is where to pay some more attention. So let me just run it. Now, we have color as 3.14. We have George at 6.76, and we have praise at 7.0. The first thing is to take note of the name of the list, which is height. And then your first target is, remember our goal is we want to index out what's the height of George. The first thing is, where is the height? What mother list is the height of George? Because this is the external list, right? That encloses all the tree. We have this first list. We have this second sub. I'll use a sublist. This is the first sublist, second sublist, and the third sublist. Okay, so 6.7, George height is in the second sublist, and this is how you read it. Color 3.14. Okay, under the external lists is in location 0. All right, George 6.76 is in location 1, and then praise 7.0 is in location 2. So I'm going to, because I want George height, right? I'm going to take the location of George height. That is location 1. All right. But if I just index that out, it's going to give me both George and, let's run it. It's going to give me both George and the height. But then I still have a target. I want to index out just the height. So we're going to come down to the smaller list now. You see that you've pulled out George 6.76 from this big list, and now we are down to a smaller list. We want to bring out 6.76, which is in location 1 in this smaller list. So we have this is location 0, this is location 1. And so when you do that, you're able to extract the height of George. I believe we understand this. So we can have a nested and a nest. So they're in one of our assignments that well, we gave you on the here. So you're going to do these assignments. We have this exercise, the power, the splits. You're going to do the splits. Oh, sorry, this is the answer. So I'm going to let me just I just wanted to scroll down to the question. Okay, so you're going to nest out. Okay, this is a dictionary. I thought there was a list. Yeah, there's one that has a list, nested list. So you're going to extract out the value of, the answer of this. All right, so I have about 5 more minutes. Okay, so let's go straight. That's basically lists. When you talk about lists, you talk about how they are stored. Then you talk about how to access the elements in the lists. Okay, I haven't understood accessing the elements in the list. We have some list function as well, but then I wouldn't be able to cover that. We'll see that as we proceed in other concepts. Okay, we've talked about subsetting lists. So what I've been explaining earlier is subsetting lists, and then we can also slice out the list. Now, slicing, what I've done earlier was just to subset the list, that is to extract either one element. You can extract. Now you want to extract more than one element. How do you do that? Okay, given that we have this elements, I don't know where it's defined. Let me find out. Okay, we have this lists. Okay, this country lists. All right, so where we have this country list, we have Nigeria, Ghana, France, Cameroon, and then we have Hungary, like all the lists. Now I want to slice out all the list from Hungary to the end. How do I go about that? I don't want the other ones. So what I'll just do is country square bracket. Now I can say I want everything to the end. So what's the position of this? You're gonna start with, sorry, let me just go the simple route so that I don't confuse some people that are not familiar with this already. Okay, you come to Hungary and say, okay, what location is Hungary? You have 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hungary is in location 4, so we can write 4. Then you have a full colon. We want the last list also. So you're going to continue. This is 4, 5, 6, 7. But we want the 7th location included. So it's actually the last, the formula is the last location plus 1. So we are going to have 4 to 8 to index out on Hungary to the last sublist. Because if we had stopped at 7, it's going to eliminate this last one. So you're going to include, if you want the last location inclusive, you add +1 to it, and then you have 4 to 8. So that indexes out. Another way I could have done it, I might not have to, because I want it to the last item, I might not have to include the last index. It's going to give me the same value as well. Let me just run that as well. Sorry. We have country, and then we have 4 to the end, which is going to give us the same output. Okay, so that's a way to index out, to slice out a list. You can slice from anywhere. You can decide to say, I want to slice out France, Cameroon, and Hungary. How do I get those elements out? Now, what do you do? The same way we did that, the name of the list. So we can see the essence of our variable names now. The variable names helping us to, to use this list every time. If not, I would have to be writing all these lists. Anytime I want to use it, I'll have to be writing it over and over. And you understand the challenge that might come with that. It's going to waste my time. All right, so we have the country, that's the name of the variable, and then I want to slice out France, Cameroon, Hungary. So France is in what location? France is in location 1, 0, 1, 2. Then we have Hungary in location what? 2, 3, 4 plus 1. That's 5. And that gives us 5, France, Cameroon, and Hungary. So We that's about the slicing of list, subsetting, right? And then some list function, which is the dot append. So all this were explained in class, all right? They were explained in inside the videos on the class. We also have on the LMS rather, we also have manipulating lists. So the way you extract the element of a list, you can also use it to rename that element. For example, I don't know if where family is defined. Let me check where it's defined. So another thing you have to take note of while learning programming or data science, or generally you come across errors, and don't be frustrated. You have to make it your friend. Errors are your friend. The act of debugging is a skill set as well. So you shouldn't be offended when you see errors. You just have to know how to interpret them, understand what the cause of the error is, and then you have a community, and that's why we have a group where you can easily, reach out to somebody that has gone through it before. So here, when this throws an error, the first thing that comes to my mind is what kind of error is it? A name error. And I go to the last line. What is it saying? Name family is not defined. That is, I've not defined where family is. What family? So Python does not understand family. You're just saying family. What does it mean? Right? So there must be somewhere I must have created a variable called family. So I'm going to go back up. Okay, this is where I defined family. So now I can now run it. When I run it and I come down here and ask Python, give me what is inside the family variable, and then it throws back what I've stored inside family. So you can see that now we are understanding the language and we can communicate. All right. So for example, I want to change Okoye. I want to change elements. This is 420. Oh, this is very, very complex to read because of our time. I have to stop in the next 3 minutes. We have going to go for a quiz break. Let me just finish up with this and then we'll do that. All right, so we have this list, and when you look at this list, the first thing you have to pay attention is the outer list, right? The beginning and the end. The beginning and the end is this. So inside this list, you have to count what I'm trying to do. Okay, let me follow my own example. I want to update Collins. I want to change Collins' name to John. All right, how do I do that? So the first thing is to know the location of Collins. Where is Collins located? So Collins is located at, this is the outer list, which is this and this. Okay, but then we have other elements inside the outer list, and these are all the elements. Now Collins is inside which lists, which sub lists. So I'm going to count. This is Martin's, which is the first element in the outer list, 0. 2, Cynthia. 3, Nate. Then 4, this is 4. It continues. I'm looking for the end of the bracket. That's why I'm going for that. 4, 4, 4. It continues. Yeah, because this one ends here. Okay, this is where 4 ends. Okay, this is where 4 ends. All right, yeah. So this is where 4 ends. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3. Sorry, 0, 1, 2, 3. So, but then I want to change Collins. So the first thing for me to do is what? Family. 3, right? Now, family 3 will give me what? Okay, another list, so I can just focus on this list now. So now this list, we have Collins at location, what? 0. So we have Collins at location 1. So we have, this is Collins, right? But I want to change Collins to what? To John. So after indexing out Collins, I'm just going to assign it to John. That's how you manipulate the list. So when you do that and you run it, right, it has already changed. So let me print out family now. Family. Now just observe where Collins was before. So you can see that Collins has been updated to John. All right, great. So at this point, we are going to go on a quiz break. We couldn't cover, was dictionary part of, okay, for loops. dictionary is not now. Okay, I think we covered basically up to list. The only thing we couldn't cover are the loops, right? But then we can address that during Q&A. We have, because of our time, I want to respect our time. Yeah, so we come to the end of this recap sessions. I will be going into our Q&A sessions shortly. But before we go, we're going to do a short quiz break. So I want you all to add on to Slido. I'm going to project the link right away so that you'd access it. Head up to Slido and join via this link. That same Slido that we have been using for our question and answer. We want to start up a quiz now. This is our Q&A. So we're going to go to the quiz break. Yeah. So you can join the quiz at slido.com 3083269. I want us to do that quickly so that we don't eat into the time of our question and answer. We have one person already here. So during the Q&A, we'll be giving priority to the questions on Slido first. I said we should drop our questions on Slido. I want us to have like a very good number. The idea of the quiz is to help us to further cement our understanding of what we've been learning so far, or what we've learned during our personal time in class. We need more persons. Still waiting for you all. We are how many now? I'm giving you some more time. I want at least 75% of the, that's like we are like 50 on the call. So at least I want to have like a good number of people join before we start. John Viet, so I'm going to share the link again on the chat. I've shared it before. So just go to quizslido.com. Let me copy the link, or somebody can help out to copy the link and share. Go to slido.com on your browser, slido.com. This is slido.com. Visit slido.com on the browser, then enter this code 3083269. Then you join the quiz. We have, or you can scan, if you have your phone and you're using your laptop, you can scan the barcode, this barcode, and takes you to the quiz environment. Can we all do that quickly? We have, we are eating into the time for our question and answer. So let us get that done quickly. We have just 20 people out of 50. So the quiz is 8 questions, 20 seconds, very simple questions. Fastest fingers first. What else? It's not compulsory for you to answer, but then you can attempt. It's recommended for you to attempt. All right. And it's just for you to test your general knowledge on what we've been learning so far. Okay, I just give you 1 more minute so that we can start because of our time. All right. I'll just have to start so that we have 33 people now. Okay, so we're started. What is the main advantage of using Jupyter Notebook for data analysis? The main advantage of using Jupyter Notebook for data analysis. You can answer the question. You have 8 seconds more. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and okay, so we have 95% said A, and then 5% said C. Now let's see the answer. Okay, so the answer is what? Is A, and that is the main part of the advantage of using Jupyter Notebook, like I mentioned, it allows you to create interactive, shareable notebook that integrates codes, visualization, and text. So you can have your code, you can have your markdowns, and you can have your text. All right, we want to see our fastest finger, Christian. Celebrate Christian. Thank you. All right, let's move forward. We have 7 more questions. Okay, so Christian, Andrew, Adiola, God bless, Emanuela, God bless. Welcome back. All right. Okay, so let's move to the next one. Are we ready? Okay, please answer, join the quiz to answer. I don't want to see the answer on the chat. We can't record it that way. All right, let's move to the next one quickly. Are we ready? The next question. Which of the following is not a valid Python variable name? I believe everybody should have an answer to this. Which of this is not a valid Python variable name? 11 seconds. 10, 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay. That means some people were not listening to me. I mean, they were not hearing me well during class. All right, we have 74 people say, 7 people say A, said A, 74, B, and 19, D. Let's see the answer. So the answer is B. So you can try it out on your Jupyter notebook. I mentioned that a variable name cannot start with a number. You can still use an underscore for the beginning of a variable name, but when it comes to other special characters, you cannot. So the answer is B. Christian, Adiola, Andrew, Yosin, Kamwanga. Sorry, I'm just trying to pronounce all the names. All right, thank you everybody that participated. Well done. We are moving to the next one. Are we ready? Okay. We have 20 seconds to answer the question. Which data type is used to represent the sequence of character in Python? Sequence of character. I believe everybody should just answer this as quickly as possible. Very fast. We have 5 seconds more. Okay, interesting. Great. So we have 7 people said integer, 4 said float, it's 9% said string. The people that said integer and float, can you tell me the reason why you said integer and float? You can just drop it in the chat. Sequence of characters. Okay, the answer is string. I mentioned it earlier. I said a string is their sequence of characters. When you string A, B, C, D. An integer is it's a natural number. Floating point number is a number with a decimal point. Don't let us forget that string is a sequence of characters, and then we have the Boolean, which are true or false, formats. So I believe the quiz is helping us to further, to further streamline all that we've been learning. All right, let's continue. We have Christian again, we have Adiola, we have Andrew, we have Yosin, and Raim. All right, the next one, let's move forward. We have 5 more questions. Are we ready? Okay, starting now. What will the data type of the variable x after following Python statements? What will be the data type of this variable? We should all know this. I mentioned this in class. What will be the data type of this variable? Oh, okay. I wish I could get a representative of each group to tell me the people that chose float, why? The people that chose integer. I just need somebody. You can drop it in the chat. Why did you choose float? Why did you choose integer? And why did you choose bool? I can't tell who chose what. So, but then you can just, drop a message. Anybody, very quickly. Or was it just a quick guess because of time? Is anybody typing? Okay, so I believe you chose integer, right? Um Ngoma, you chose integer. All right. Okay, the other group, why did you choose floats? All right, because of our time, would move forward. It's just like what Ngoma mentioned. It's a floor division, so your results is actually an integer. We saw the explanation in class where it's integer before division. It's the floor function, right? And then the result, like this 15 floor function 4 should result into what will be the answer? Can somebody tell me the answer? Can someone tell me the answer? That would guide whether we know, we've been following. Can someone tell me the answer? Let me check if there's any response. Good, good. All right. Yeah, the answer is true. Okay. All right. So it's the floor function tree. It's not the modulo, it's the floor. So you can your data type tree is an integer, so the answer is an integer. I believe we understand now for people that chose floats in point number. We have Christian, Adiola, Andrew, God bless, and Ayureka. Thank you all. We are going forward. We're just halfway into, so we're going to move faster because of our time. I'm supposed to end this quiz now, 9:10. So we're eating into our remaining time. Let me just run. Okay, the next question, please. Let's start. What is the correct syntax to access element 12? Okay. Shows that a good number of us are following. Well done. Yeah, so let's see the answer. The answer is B. I mentioned that a list is a zero-based index, right? So it's not 4. We have 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is numbers 3. All right, so this is that's the correct answer. Let's move to the next one quick. Oh, what happened, Kristen? Okay, Adela is now the leader here. All right, okay, it's a cumulative score anyway. We'll see the final on the leaderboard at the end. All right, so we have the next question quickly. So this is a long one. I think it's what will be the output of the following code if 5 in numbers print found, if 15 in numbers print found, else print not found. This is an if-else statement. So even intuitively, you should be able to answer this. Great. Yeah. It shows some persons have read, I mean, I've listened to the recording on the LMS. So it's important. Let's listen to the recording. Don't just jump into the class because you'll be missing a whole lot of other things that have been explained. So let's see the answer. We have not found. So what this is saying is a loop. Sorry for the output. This format did not do justice to our presentation very well. So, but then it says if 15 is in numbers, that is you're looking at 15, you're checking the lists. If there's 15 in it, if there's 15 in it, print found, else print not found. So, but 15 is not in number. So what would execute is the else statement here, which is not found, and that's why not found is the answer. All right, let's move to the next one quickly. We have Adiola, Christian, Andrew, Sylvester. Welcome, Osazua. Yeah, thank you. All right, so let's move to the next one. We have 20 seconds or 30 for this. Yeah, 20 seconds. Let's run. What is the output of the following code? X equals 10. If X is greater than 5, print greater. If less than 5, print lesser. So intuitively, you should be able to do this as well. All right. Okay, so let's see our answer. Yeah, so it's still the same. We are also looking at control flows, the if else statements. So the syntax is if condition, right? If you have a control, first of all, you have a control variable that you've defined before the print statement. Okay, so here we have x equals 10. Then your if statement wants to check, right? If x is greater than 5, you should print greater. Else, if it's not greater than 5, print lesser. So here 10 is not greater than 5. So what will be executed? I mean, 10 is greater than 5. So what will be executed is greater. And what is the essence of an if statement? Can somebody tell me in the chat? Why do you use if statements? While we move to the next one. Okay, we can take that towards the end so that you can focus on the last question, last quiz question. So we have Adiola, Christian, Andrew, Sylvester, and Osuzwa. All right, let's move to the next and the final one. Are you ready? How many times will the following loop run for I in range 3? Print I. This is a for loop. For I in range 3, print I. It's 30 seconds longer. All right. Let's see. We have 4% says 2, 52 says 3, 20 says 4, and 24 says infinite. Wow. Okay, so let's see what the answer is, and then let's see why it's the answer. So this is going to execute 3 times based on your if you followed the recording, right, you see where we explained for loop, and then for loop, what it does is that it loops through a particular interval, like the number of time, and then the range function is like a range of function, like this range 3 executes, it gives you a list of a tuple of numbers from 0 to 2. So we have 0, 1, 2. The last number is not inclusive. Okay, so the for loop is going to execute. So it's saying that for every element that is I, so a lot of times when you're doing Python or generally programming and you're using a variable, okay, you use it's going to, if the variable can be changed. So when you have a tuple, when we get into dictionaries and tuple, if you follow the next classes lesson, would you watch sessions on dictionaries and tuple, right? It's when you have it's a tuple of 0, 1, 2, 3. So what the for loop is going to do is going to go for the first time for every I, that's every element in that tuple. You have for the first element, that is 0 elements, it's going to print 0. The next element, 1, is going to print 1. Then the next element is 2, it's going to print 2. The next, it's because the range function returns 0, 1, 2, 3. That's why this loop is running 3 times. So I believe we understand why it's running 3 times. It's not an infinite loop. Okay. All right. I believe we understand that. Okay. And let's see our final leaderboard. Adeola, Andrew Christian, and Shelton. Thank you everybody for participating in this quiz session. We want to say congratulations to everyone that attempted it. I know that it was a nice learning experience. You actually learned something. All right, so let's get into our Q&A session. All right, can we just celebrate everybody that's participated in the quiz and our winners as well? Okay. We would be going into our Q&A session. So now is the time to ask questions. We have been, I've been talking, and then I also have Joseph here as well that would be joining me in the Q&A sessions. So I'm going to project we're going to start from the Slido questions, the questions on the Slido board, so that we can all be a part of, since we mentioned that it has to be dropped ahead of time, like you have to drop a question. So we're going to attend to those questions that were dropped ahead of time. So I'm going to share that screen right away. Sorry. Um, Okay, so we have the first question. How can I practically, I believe this is the first, yes, this is the first one on top of my list. Okay, so we have the first, how can I practically determine when to use a while loop versus a for loop? Okay, so it depends on what you have, like your condition, your it depends on what you're trying, the type of I mean iterations you have ahead. So why do we use loop? You know, I was asking us earlier, why do we use if else statements? Why do we use while loops? Why do we use for loops? You know, there are some type of conditions, there's some type of things in Python or in programming that you want it to execute a certain number of times, right? Like that's the simple if else statement we were just I was explaining, I mean that we just did earlier. We have we saw that if a number is satisfying this particular condition, executes a particular expression, else executes another expression. Okay, so it's to the if else statement is to check for conditions, but now it's not sufficient. Sometimes you might want to carry out a particular function over and over again. You might want okay, let me give a scenario. You're building an ATM automated teller machine software. I believe we all understand how the software of ATM works, where you have to withdraw money and then you go there and tells you um insert your insert your username. I mean insert your PIN. After it tells you to insert your PIN, then it tells you to insert it checks for your password, authenticates you, and when it authenticates you, then the next thing is that it tells you to, okay, enter what you want to do. You want to withdraw money, you want to check your balance, you want whatever you want to do. For example, you want to withdraw a certain amount of money, and then it tells you that, okay, you should enter the amount of money you want to withdraw, and you enter the money. You execute that transgression, I mean, you execute that transaction, then it asks you again that, do you want to withdraw do you want to withdraw the money again? All right. And some people say no, some people say yes. Some people can go through that process like more than one time. And you know, most times these machines, they might have a limit of money that you can withdraw at a particular time. For example, you want to withdraw like depending on your kind of currency. I mean, Nigeria, or I could just use the dollar currency. You want to withdraw $50, and then it's the ATM is dispensing $20 at a time. So you have to withdraw it 20, 20, 10. So anybody working at the back end, right? You don't have to, there's a particular way they write the code. You don't have to write the same code over and over because the person is carrying out the same function. You don't have to write the same code over and over again. What you need to do is to use a for loop that is for this number of times that this person is going to execute this sequence, do this operation. Okay. All right. So coming back to the question, when do we use a for loop? When you know the number of iterations you want to loop over and over again. Like in that ATM condition, it's not a for loop because you don't even know how many times the user is going to withdraw ahead of time. Assuming if you want to use a for loop, the first question you ask is how many times do you want to withdraw? If the person now tells you, okay, I want to withdraw 3 times, now you can use a for loop. But then in a situation whereby you don't know the number of iterations, so use a while loop, that is while the condition is being satisfied, execute this. So it executes until when the user decides that, okay, I want to stop withdrawing. I believe we understand. I'm just trying to use like a real life scenario instead of just using a code-based explanation to answer the question. So you use a for loop when you know the iterations ahead of time. The syntax for a for loop is for your iterator for I in, just like what we saw, for I in range of a particular value, then your expression. So the loop runs that certain number of time. Okay. this, let me just come to this notebook to show you. Okay, this is okay, let me come to this one. Okay, now given a sequence, right? And then a sequence of list 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can use a for loop because you know the number of iterations already. You can just say for every item in this sequence, print yep. And then it does the printing of yep, 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 yep. All right. So that's what a for loop does. But a while loop is a different case. A while loop, you don't have the you don't know the number of iteration ahead of time. So I will just give I'll give a particular explanation. Let me just give this explanation. I think I have one example somewhere. Let me just create this. Let me just put the example I have here. So I have this example. Okay. So we have a while loop. Now, you don't know the number of time you want to execute this function. So usually your condition comes here. This is where the condition comes. That is, while this condition is true, okay, print this statement, print count. You have a counter in front where you have what is controlling your while loop. Then you have the while counts. If while count is less than 5, that is while this particular number is less than 5, print counts. Okay, so what this is going to result into is going to that what's going to do is that while 0 is less than 5, the first value is that it's going to print is 0. Then it increments. There will be a counter that controls the loop. It increments it, that is 0 plus 1, which is 1. The next point says 1 less than 5. So what's going to print here is going to print 1, it's going to print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what this result would be until the loop executes, until it becomes false. So this is the counter that is controlling it. But in this case, you're not using a for loop. A for loop in this case, a for loop, on the other hand, you have the number of sequence that you want to execute ahead of time. You know it ahead of time, but here you don't know it. You're using a condition to control it. You're using a condition to control the sequence. I believe you understand the difference now. The person that asks the question can just react if the answer has been if it's satisfied, you can't react. All right. Okay, so we're going to go to the next question. The next question says, I'm going to mark as answered. The next question says, what differentiates a data scientist from a data analyst? Haha. Okay. So in this tech field, we use a lot of names, right? Some people would get a job as a data analyst, they'll be doing a data scientist task. Some people would get a job as a data scientist, they'll be doing a data analyst task. But in the real sense, what a data analyst does is to analyze data. You're trying to draw insights from data. So you must have a very strong background of your Excel, your analysis tools. Like you can know like your Python as well. You can use Python for data analysis as well. And analyzing data is you're trying to draw insight from data. You're trying to you can have a raw data set like in Excel or in a database. As a data analyst, you should be able to turn that data into insights. Like when they give you a data set of a supermarket store, as a data analyst, You're supposed to take that data set and use your tools, your understanding of Excel, of Power BI or Tableau, of SQL, to be able to draw insights that, okay, at a particular time of the week, this is the products that people usually buy. Like based on that data set, you are able to draw out insights from the data. So, but then a data scientist goes a step further. A data scientist does the job of a data analyst, because for you to become a data scientist, you must know how to, you must be able to do data analysis very well. So you find out that so many people, before they get into data science, they first of all do data analysis. Okay. And there are so many tools that we can use for data analysis. Some people use Excel, some people use Python. So some people use Power BI, some SQL, some the combination of everything. All right, based on what your need is and the need of your organization is as well. So, but then it's good to have an understanding of very good grasp of how to use the tool, be good at one. If you're doing Python, know how to use Python. If you're doing Excel, know how to use Excel. All right. But Python is a very powerful tool because it's faster. And so many things that you just write with a single line of code, and then you're good, and you're able to do so many computations very fast over a large millions of data sets, that's tools like Excel has improved now, right? But then that you can do a lot of faster computation with Python, then you can easily pivot into data science when you know how to use Python. All right. So for data scientists, so data scientists now you're going beyond analysis. And that's why you should not miss our mentorship sessions, because this is what we'll be talking about. We'll be telling you about the different career paths in data, and what you need to know if you want to go into the data analysis field, what you need to focus on as a data scientist and all. Okay, so as a data scientist, you go a little step further from data analysis. Now you're doing predictive modeling. In data analysis, you're doing descriptive statistics, descriptive analysis. You're trying to check out the data, to draw inference from the data. But in data science, you're going beyond just telling us that a supermarket, um the kind of product that customers buy in the supermarket is beverage. I mean, the type of beverage they buy in supermarkets is Horlicks. A lot of our customers buy Horlicks in the supermarket, so the supermarket store should stock up Horlicks more. You're going beyond that insight, and then you're telling them further that it's not them just talking Horlicks or Horlicks ahead of time. You are predicting when the supermarkets would actually need, the customers would actually buy that Horlicks. So you're not just drawing insight, generating insights from the data. You're also giving like a predictive analysis that, okay, at so time, maybe in the next at December, this is what will happen based on our data. So you're applying some machine learning algorithms to your data set to be able to make predictions of future events. Okay, so in data science, as a data scientist, you'll be doing more of predictive modeling. You'll be doing a lot of research, trying to understand different type of models on that suits the type of data, the type of scenario that you're working on, and then you're able to take it up from there. So as a data scientist, you're not just a data analyst, but then you're doing machine learning as well. So machine learning engineering is another aspect which let's just leave that for the mentorship session. I believe that question has been answered. If it has been answered, you can just give me let me see your reaction. Okay, so that's the next one. Can you explain? We have 12 more questions. Okay, so I'm going to go. Okay, the others are not questions. The others are responses. I don't know if Joseph is there. I don't know if he wants to take up any of the questions. Hi, Joseph.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. Do you want to take up any questions? Are you disposed to take
Yeah,
questions?
yeah, actually I wanted taking the other two that you've taken.
Okay,
And then
okay.
for somebody asked question about what I tributes are.
Yeah.
So I just want to answer that. Let me give just a little insight about that.
Okay.
Good, because I before I come in, I just want to really appreciate you. Like you've been doing a wonderful job. You've been helping us, and we are really grateful. Really, we are really grateful.
It's a pleasure.
So, yes, ma. So for iTributes, according to what you've said, iTributes are objects that can be iterated. Like when you talk about loop, we've talked about loop. So when you talk about
Yeah.
iTribute, we are talking um, items that can be a kind of looped over. I don't know if the word is if you get what I'm trying to say. Things that you like items. If I my screen, I don't know, I can't even share screen. If,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
example, you
Okay.
yes can are you saying something?
Okay. No, please go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Okay. If you have let's say let's say um let's say DataGenz equals, and then you have list of names. Let's say Joseph, Miriam, and the rest. And you have like let's just if you can iterate through, if you can call Joseph from this data, you say okay, data, and then you use curly bracket what's it called? This brackets. What iterables are when you can actually loop over. You can use while loop, for loop, and all of that to iterate, to call a particular um what you've stored in a particular I don't know how to. I would have actually loved to share screen to actually explain that, but it's just about loop, what you can loop over. Those are iterables. You can iterate them, can loop over them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Thank you for that explanation. So you've just got I mean, you've just iterable is just like what Joseph is. Literally, iterable things that can be iterated on, that can be looped on. Yeah, so you use it a lot in when you want to do your loops. Okay, when you want to do your for loops, your so iterables, you can iterate over a list, you can iterate over a dictionary, you can iterate over um you can even iterate over strings, right? So there are things that can be iterated on and that can be looked over. So I believe you understand, you get the explanation. All right, let's just rush because so that we can take as many examples as possible. It says, can you explain what a compiler are using everyday examples? Interesting. I'm sure this person is maybe are you doing any CS course in school? All right. Okay. So a compiler is compiler. Compiler is like a translator when you convert that converts a set of instruction in one language into another language. Now let me explain. For you to use a particular programming language, Sorry, just. Sherry, so as I was explaining about compilers, it's like a translator that converts a set of instruction written in one language into another language that can be understood by a different system. So sometimes you might want to and like for example, you want to translate a book in one language into another one. You have to translate a book from French to English, and people that don't understand French can understand the book. You want to translate the book from French to English. People that don't understand French can understand. So you yourself, you're like the compiler. So let me just use that one in a literal sense, right? Like you having a translator, an interpreter of interpreting things from one point to another. So, but in programming, normally you have the language of the computer. Human beings cannot understand the language of a computer, right? So many things that so many times when you write even your ABC, what happens at the background is not ABC. The computer compiles it and translates it into a machine readable format encoded in zeros and ones. So you have a compiler in between doing the work of as you're imputing all your, what you understand. The compiler is compiling it and translating it into what they understand. I mean, the machine, the system would understand, and then is executing that task. I believe that's clears that question, right? So these are like basic CS, for people that I don't know the person that asked that question. Maybe the person is actually doing a CS program. All right. So, but it's you understand what that means now. Okay, if your question has been answered, you can just drop in emoji and I don't know if the person that asked the question is here. All right. I believe it's been answered, so we can move to the next one. Okay, I'm unable to download the notebook files from the learning management system. Anytime I click on it, takes me to a JSON file, like I'm viewing an HTML file. Okay, it's been explained over and over again. Are you on the group, first of all? Are you on the WhatsApp study group? The person that asked this question. If you're not, please join the WhatsApp study group so that there are some questions that have been answered there. And just scroll, check the history of what has been answered. So for the learning management system, if you go to the class, right? So these are frequently asked questions. If you come under the class recording, Python for data science, okay, so there is this question that says how to download IPython file from the LMS, Learning Management System. So when you check this video, it explains how to go about it. I mentioned earlier that because it's a Python notebook, there are times that when you download it from the internet, it's converted to a JSON format and it opens as an HTML file. So this video would explain how to actually save it, and then you have your right file downloaded on your system. So just follow the video to be able to execute that. Okay, then the next question. Okay, is this a question or this question on this code? I believe this person that is writing this code wanted to type it in the quiz. Like you wanted to join the quiz, that's why you typed in this code. The next question, is it okay for me to use VS Code app for the Jupyter notebook and Python programming? Yeah, you can use VS Code. VS Code has if you can there are Jupyter notebook extensions in VS Code I think. So you can use the VS Code if you're able to get the Jupyter notebook extension installed. So you can use the VS Code environment to run your notebooks. It also works as well. It's the same, so long as it's the same interface. But I mean, it's the same. It might not come out in the browser format, but you'll be running it inside the VS Code environment. Okay. My network is very, would you send a PDF? So I want us to ask, okay, anyway, the questions. I want us to also ask questions that are related to the content as well that we are learning, so that we maximize the best use of this time. Okay. The essence of why we are having the live sessions is that the recorded classes, you must have gone through the content and then you have questions that maybe you're not clear about, so that when we come to class now, we can, experiment and try our hands on it, on the questions. Okay, so that's why part of why we're having these live sessions. So many people in other boot camps, previous boot camp, they didn't have this luxury of, a lot of people wanted to ask questions, but then we didn't have that enough time because we have to go through the content. So now we have this an opportunity to have like live conversations, bring challenges where we solve together, and then you see your results. Okay, so that's why we have this platform to ask questions. All right. The file that I used is on the LMS. So you can access it on the LMS under the live. This is it here. Under okay. It's not linked in this part, but then towards the end of this this class, where you have additional files. I'm coming, let me check through. It's actually on the LMS. You should see it on the LMS. So there's an exercise for today. That's the Python crash exercise. Try your hands on that exercise. It would, it will help. It will help you. So for this step is locked. That file is under this step where you have your recap and exercises. That's where the file is. Okay, but we can further upload it under this today's class so that you can have access to it as well. Okay, so I think all other questions here are just comments. So I'm going to go to the teams to see if we have questions. So I have Jupyter in VS Code. Hope it works perfect. Okay. Yeah, it should work if you have the Jupyter installed in the VS Code. So you have the floor. This okay, the slash double slash is the floor division. Is the floor division. Okay. The documents I'm working with is on the LMS. I can move it or upload it to today's class so that you can have access to it as well. All right. Okay, so at this point, there are no other questions. And if we don't have any other questions, that means we're going to call it a wrap. I don't know. Do you want to say, is it a question, or I saw you raising your hand. You want to ask a question? Are you asking a question, or just that was a mistake? Okay. I know you cannot talk. Andrew, you want to ask a question? Okay, I'm just going to give like one or two persons to ask a question since we have like some few minutes before we wrap up so that we can. So Andrew, you can talk. I just enabled your mic. Okay, in the Q&A. All right. I've not seen any other. Okay, so I don't know, mistake. All right, kindly give a few debugging tips, especially on the commonest error we're likely to encounter. Okay, so the going through the content, all right, the idea of the content is to have like a kind of structured form of learning, and we understand that some persons are just very, very new into this, and they're not even in CS. They don't have a programming background experience. So we'll try as much as possible to make your introduction as seamless as possible. So the first thing is ensure you go through the learning management system, go through all the content, go through the videos, right? And then when you go through each of the video, like for example, I want to start from the first module. This is just the explanation on Python, right? Then you complete the step, you move to the next module, you move to the next step, and then for each of the step, this is the video, one of the recording for Jupyter Notebook introduction, those like explanation of the concepts, right? And then these are the models to download, like the walk, and the walk along notebooks. All right. So when you download the notebook, you can also walk along in the video. So all that we are doing in the video, you can follow along. All right. So you see that for Python and the variable and data type, because that's what this is covering. And then you have your survey. And so just follow each of the content, all right, and the videos you follow through as well. You have the resources towards the bottom. And then the only frequently asked question, which we found out that people ask, is about downloading. So sometimes because we have the .ipynb extension on the LMS like that, when downloading, it converts into a JSON format. So there's a way to save it. You save it. That video will explain how to go about it to you. Okay, you save it and then you have it stored on your system and then you can access afterwards. All right, so that's the most commonest error. So in the process of your learning, for example, maybe you're trying your hands on some exercises and then or some concept and you come across an error. For example, I want to do something. Let me remove this and do this. Now, there is an error here, but you're not quite sure. So here it's telling you that syntax error, invalid syntax. And for a new beginner, you don't know what's a syntax error. Syntax error for somebody that is used to programming, I know it has to do with whether a dot or a comma or an apostrophe or something, a bracket, that's a syntax error. But that has to do with my syntax. So I know there's a problem. But then if you go further up, you see that it's telling me that the error is on line 3. Okay. The error is on line 3, and then it's under, the error is here on the return statement. But when I check my return, this is line 1, line 2, line 3. The return, everything here is good. But then right before the return, this is line 2. One bracket is missing. That's where the error actually is. So I just put the bracket back and run it, and then we are good. Okay. So like you can have your debugging tips is just try to read, understand. Let me do another kind of error, not syntax this time around. Let me do something that has to do with this should give you a syntax error as well. This is syntax error because I removed the equals to double equals to um I moved the equals to, so for example, I say my name and I will load it, and it says my name is not defined because it does not understand what my name is. It's not a Python syntax. So it's telling you that is a name error and that it's not defined. So the next thing is that it's expecting an assignment. Maybe you want to create a variable called my name, called Grace. And then when you run it, you see that it's even there's a mistake because quotation mark is on the next line. So it's saying that end of line literal while scanning string literal, syntax error. That is, Grace does not have a I mean, the second quote is missing. So when I do it properly, you see that the error is gone. So there are a couple of errors I might, and then the worst case, you don't understand what the error means. You can always check online, just copy the error and post online. But the challenge with posting online is that you might not get the exact explanation. You have to know how to also debug, how to understand reading documentation to be able to address that kind of question. But then the act of debugging is actually a skill to be learned as a data scientist or a data analyst. All right, I think there are no other questions. If there are no other questions, would call it a wrap. So against next class, please try and follow through the content on the LMS. Ensure you read. The next class is on Friday, same time. We're going to cover dictionary, tuple, and sets, read through dictionary tomorrow, dictionary, tuple, and sets, functions, and building Python web app using Streamlit. So those are the three things that you need to read up against our next class so that we have our live classes on Friday. And then if you have questions, you come to this. I believe everybody have this bootcamp training schedule. So it was shared via email, and then it's on the LMS as well. If you come to this place, you see the training schedule on the this place, data science program training schedule. This is the link. When you click the link, it takes you into the training schedule. This is a training schedule. So for class 3, which is October 18, let me just go right into the one open. October 18, you can see it here. You have the Slido link already here, so you can easily access it and drop your questions so that we'll make the best use of our time, and then we'll take it up from there. All right, so thank you all for joining today, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Ensure you connect with one another on LinkedIn. And part of why we are here again is to also build networks, build connections. I know we have different people from different part of Africa on this program. We have, I think we have over 20 countries, from people that are on this program. So please try to connect with one another, drop your LinkedIn profiles, follow one another on LinkedIn as well, and build valuable connection. Thank you all. My name is Grace, and we'll see you the next class. Have a great day.